Welcome back to Fairy Tale Anime Review, episode number 70. Anyways, um, we're here discussing the 12th episode of Fairy Tale One Hero's Quest, Card in Hand, which covers chapters 39 to 42 of the manga. Of the 100 Quest manga, which means there's about 21 chapters left to be adapted for this arc. Yeah, 21 to go. There's about a few different things going on here. We have one for Natsu, there's one with Loxus, there's one with Urza, which intersects with Loxus, there's one with Wendy. Let's start with Wendy's first. Wendy's is her, well, kind of in a way, where she's going to fight the guy from Diablos, where she's not doing too well, and then of course basically he proceeds to destroy the orb, which does affect the whole episode, and then later on, of course, he has to chase after her, chase after him, and then, well, the fight ends there. Meanwhile, though, Natsu is fighting Wrath-possessed Makarov. Makarov is possessed by Wrath. They're like, oh, this guy seems familiar. And he's like, oh, he might be a blood relative of mine. They're like, who is this guy? He's my guild master. I'll let Ismail do the experiences. And then look into his memories. He finds out that, we find in this episode the Wrath, while of course, while fighting Natsu, look through Nakaro's memories, that in fact, Wrath was a previous member of Fairy Tale. Yeah, because there was a mark on his back which they don't show in present day if he still had after he joined Diablos. So, he was not killed by some random person, he was killed by Beast. Which I find that to be interesting. And at the finding this out, then of course he proceeds to leave. Of course, Makarov is all knocked out. And not to point out, I've never had a real fight with Gramps before. That's the line he says. So he's never had a real fight with him before. This will be the first time. And it's a pretty okay fight. Meanwhile, though, in the case of Gray and Juvia, they're basically like, okay, so we need freedom, and all of a sudden, here's Kana, where she's drunk and thinks she's possessed, and of course, Lucy comes along, here's a Fluffy, of course, try to use her spell, of course, she gets trapped, and it turns out she was never hypnotized. And it also points out, though, that under her robe, she's butt naked. And we have this funny thing of Juvia standing in front of Gray, blocking him, probably seeing Kana naked. So, of course, with other type of cards, and of course, they run across, I think it was in the same area. I think it was basically Levy's team. Like, they expect Natsu was one beat him, but actually it was Urza who beat them. And then they move on. Meanwhile, the Urza is confined to a tree where Jalal is using vines. Is like, Jalal has this weird thing in this episode where he really wants to seduce Urza so badly, and she's like, "Why do you take these off so I can embrace you?" And then proceeds to remove the bindings, cover her chest. And he's like, oh, I'm not ready for this. And of course, he just used the bind to cover his eyes and tie him up. And then transforms and runs back to where Loxus and Kenna is. Oh, by the way, in the case of Natsu, after he defeats Makarov, he goes back to his own body. And then he flies over to where the neck, possibly with the bosses, and they come to one of the church with the orb, and they come across the white mage, and she's in her Toka form. And like, oh, my Natsu! Of course, the whole thing before this is like, how, I'm not going to attack an unconscious person. And then that portion of the episode ends with basically them, like, well, her hugging him, thinking that's her Natsu, so I think it's not actually who she's talking about, which I'll get to that later. Meanwhile, though, Loxus and Kendra, basically, they have their fight, and then, of course, like, she does the whole thing of sapping his strength, he's like, I've got no strength. And I'm like, how the heck are you standing? And then he proceeds to knock her out, and then this is kind of weird. So, she is falling for him because of how really strong he is. And then Urza shows back up to confront Loxus to deal with the whole thing with the orb, and that's the episode. Absolute really good episode. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Now I'm like, it's like with Case Goes in One Piece. There's no there's no like set amount of episodes for this one. This is like one of like 3 that's like this. Actually 4 if you include Rama half. Yep. But yeah, that's particularly a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Do not hit this like button. Next episode of Comic Corner, it's on to ReZero next. Okay? The next video.